Hi, I'm John. I'm going to talk about how our digital content can be more accessible and inclusive. So far, we've discussed writing for readability and inclusion. This time, we're going to check out some of the ways that we can design our content to be more accessible. First tip, start early. Thinking about accessibility early pays dividends later on. Accessibility as an afterthought is harder, more expensive, and generally lower quality. By making accessibility part of your process and policies, it encourages a more sustainable approach and helps establish true inclusive design. It will be easier to achieve and maintain a good level of accessibility in your content at a reasonable cost. So, learn how to design your content with accessibility in mind, and over time it will become second nature. Let's take colour as an example. The colour combinations you choose can impact the readability and accessibility of the content you create. When we use colour as the only way of communicating information or distinguishing between things, we can be making that content less accessible to some people. People with low vision, or people who are colourblind, for example. Equally, the colour contrast of the text and graphics we use often gets overlooked. Text against background images can be a particular problem. There are guidelines and tools for accessibility that help us meet these needs. For example, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines requires text to meet a minimum level of contrast between the colour of the text and its background. Typically, contrast issues can be easily fixed by increasing the level of contrast. This may be achieved by making the text colour darker or lighter against its background. A tool like Colorable, shown here, can help with this. Or you can change the background in some way, such as adding a transparent background colour to text written over an image. Other aspects of designing for accessibility include designing a clear layout and order for your content, using familiarity to your advantage, common design patterns or iconography, for example, designing in adaptability and offering people choice. Some types of content need alternatives to enable people to access information in the way that suits them best. An example of designing for adaptability comes as alternatives. First, let's look at alternatives for images. For example, an image we post to social media is not accessible to a blind person unless alternative text is added. Most social media services now provide a way to do this. But we must also provide such alternatives for all images, whether that's on our websites or in PDF or Word documents. But what makes a good alternative text? One that represents the purpose or meaning of an image, not necessarily a description of the image. Describing an image is perhaps only appropriate as alternative text for photographs. Where possible, it's much better to use true text rather than making text part of an image. For example, on our websites, we can overlay images with real text rather than making that text part of the image itself. Real text is much more accessible to people because it can be more readily accessed by the software that some disabled people use to interact with the digital world, and it can be resized more cleanly. Finally, let's talk about other kinds of alternatives: video subtitles and captions, transcripts, and audio description. Firstly, these serve different audiences. Subtitles accommodate language barriers. They are not sufficient for deaf people to access video content. Captions capture all audible content from speech to significant sounds such as music playing. This helps people who cannot hear or are hard of hearing to access multimedia content. Text transcripts allow people who can't access multimedia to access that content, whether it's a video or audio, such as a podcast. Transcripts are also a great way for speed reading or searching for specific information in audio or video. And finally, audio description provides additional audio commentary explaining what's happening on the screen, mainly used by people with visual disabilities. For most video, both captions and a text transcript must be provided to meet basic accessibility requirements. You can find out more about these using WebAIM's article about captions, transcripts and audio descriptions, the BBC's My Web, My Way, and this great resource from Merrill Evans, The Complete Guide to Captioned Videos. One final resource that will help frame your thinking and conversations around accessibility is the UK Home Office Do and Don'ts on Designing for Accessibility. It's a set of posters that you can print off for your office wall. So, start thinking about accessibility as early as you can. Be mindful of how you use colour in your content. Use familiarity to your advantage. Design clear layouts and a clear order to your content. Design for adaptability and offer people choice. Provide alternative content for images, video and audio. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.